Previously on the show, we chatted about how parents should anticipate the needs of their children when sending them back to school once schools reopen. Today, we chat to social worker Simone Johnston, who also heads up a wellness department at a school, to see what attending schools look like for pupils and teaching staff post-COVID-19. Welcome to The Loft, Simone.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Now, Simone, you are on the ground, in the schools with teachers and pupils. Tell us, what does it look like now post-COVID-19?
Well, it's an interesting time that we're living in. Whether public school or independent school, we have been guided by the Department of Basic Education as well as the Department of Health. There are a number of procedures and protocols that we have to adhere to in order to make our schools COVID-19 safe and healthy and a positive environment for our students.
Okay, so Simone, we see a whole new department birthed here off of COVID-19. So please maybe just delve a little bit deeper into what that looks like. What are some of the measures that schools have taken to ensure the safety of their pupils and teaching staff?
Sure. So most schools, I would hope, have actually planned orientation programs in order to help their students and staff with re-entry at school. So that means a number of procedures and protocols that have to be explained and essentially train students and staff to use and to feel comfortable with. These measures include history about COVID-19, how the virus spreads, and what precautions and hygiene measures they can take to actually prevent the virus from spreading, and how to remain safe and healthy in the school environment.
So then what are some of the practical changes that they're facing?
There's so many changes that our students are facing during this time. The first thing is that they have to go through a screening process when they arrive at school. So they have their temperatures checked, they have a number of questions that they're asked that are related to COVID-19 symptoms. They have to wear a face mask, class mask, for the entire day. They have to navigate classroom situations. So desks and chairs are now measured 1.5 meters from each other. They have different classroom setups, smaller classrooms, or smaller number of students in classrooms. And we're talking hygiene measures, so things like going into a bathroom, having to use a sanitizer spray wherever you go, whatever you do. Even navigating times like break times, social distancing from their friends, and navigating how to eat their lunch while using a cloth mask. So there's so many changes that they've had to adapt to now being back at school.
What is the dynamic now that you've seen between pupils?
Yeah, it's a very interesting dynamic. A lot of students are excited to be back at school. Some schools have been privileged enough to have online programs, and some schools not so, don't have resources to have the online program. So you can imagine the excitement of a student being able to be back at school and see their peers and interact with their teachers. But the dynamic has shifted. I think there's a sense of getting used to or having to adapt to changes, having signs on the wall to guide you, markings on the ground to guide you. So I think there's definitely some anxiety around the different procedures and how the actual school day looks and getting things right. I think students feel like often anxiety around getting things right and what happens if they get things wrong. So I think there's definitely a balance between the different kinds of emotions that they're experiencing in this environment.
So COVID-19 has taken a mental toll on everyone and more so on the kids. How are teachers being considerate of the mental health of the pupils, and how important is it for them to focus on this?
So that's why the orientation program is so important in this process, because part of the orientation program, as guided by the Western Cape Education Department and the DBE, is that we have to be so aware of the different emotional responses that students and staff will have towards COVID-19, towards stigma of the virus, and towards just having been in lockdown for so long. So I think that orientation process is so key in preparing staff and how to handle those conversations. And then the orientation process with the students as well. So acknowledging feelings, acknowledging that they're experiencing very normal feelings in a very abnormal situation. None of us have ever experienced this pandemic before. So I think it's really encouraging students to communicate about how they feel and what their response is.
Yeah, absolutely. It's about having those tough conversations regardless. And another tough conversation, I don't know what you're going to do right now, Simone, and how you're going to answer. I personally have been battling with this thought, you know. Is face-to-face education versus online really benefiting our children?
So I think what we have to remember is that a large majority of our country and schools don't have the resources to have continued on during lockdown. And so I would say most definitely that face-to-face is so much more beneficial. Our students are now, with smaller classes, actually getting better and more contact time with their teachers. An online program is great, and it's helped keep our children connected, our students connected. However, nothing beats the face-to-face communication and being able to experience these difficult times together in this environment and navigating it together with your student.
Yeah. Okay, so then speaking about face-to-face and having the kids physically there in class, understandably so, there have been so many parents apprehensive about sending their kids back to school. So what advice would you like to offer these parents who ask, can my child's health and safety be guaranteed at school?
So at this point, we unfortunately cannot guarantee the health of all our students because it is definitely that the virus is spreading. However, what we have done is we appeal to parents, no matter where you are in the country, no matter what school your child attends, we appeal to parents to come on board with the staff members, with the body of the school, to ensure that students are practicing social distancing. Help your child practice using a cloth mask at home. Most children come to school for the first time. They haven't worn a cloth mask for 8 hours of the day. And so it's important that parents make sure that they are screening their children before they come to school, that they're aware, helping their children understand their own health, helping them be aware about their health, and make sure that they don't have any symptoms related to COVID-19 before they actually enter the school premises.
Thank you so much, Simone, for this and breaking down, you know, what's actually happening at our schools. We definitely appreciate you for joining us and lending your voice to the conversation.
Thank you so much for having me.
South Africa, you heard it here first from someone who is working on the ground, heading up a wellness department at a school. Look, whether you decide to keep your kids at home or take them to school, please do connect with us on social media and use that hashtag Afternoon Express. Simone Johnston and every other social worker helping us on the ground, we appreciate it.